Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us for our semifinals prediction show. I'm your host, Lauren Khalil. If you like listening to us chat about CrossFit news and everything that's going on in the sport, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. We are continuing before each semifinal to be playing this game with our sports analysts, Tommy Marquez, Brian Friend, and Patrick Clark. They're each going to pick who they think will punch their ticket to the CrossFit Games from each respective semifinal. Each analyst will give their predictions on the show with a wild card pick, and then throughout the month of semifinals, we are going to rank them. They get 1 point if they guess an athlete correctly, and then a second point if they put them in the correct order. Now we are moving forward to the Syndicate Crown. Again, our sports analysts, they're right on the money with number 1 and 2 on the men's side. Justin Medeiros is number 1. Jason Hopper is 2. And then something else that I noticed, you all had I'm going to put it in air quotes, retired Scott Panchik in 3. PC, we'll start with you. Why do you have Scott Panchik in the order that you put him in for this one?
I mean, why not? I mean, he's proven, obviously. And actually, I had him in 4th. I actually had Cole Reshaper, kind of a young gun guy. I believe I think I picked him, or one of us picked him last year to as one of our young guns. I actually have him in 3rd and Panchik in 4th. Panchik in 4th is just based off his body of work historically and this past year. I mean, for a guy who's retired, he crushed it in the games. I mean, in the Open, he crushed it in quarterfinals. And, someone like Cole, the reason why I put him in 3rd is just based off the programming. And I know we brought up Justin Medeiros and Hopper, how they're 1 and 2. I don't know about I can't speak for the other guys, but I think that's going to be a really close 1 and 2. Because, again, I look at the programming for Syndicate, and it's very, very favorable to someone like Jason Hopper. It's very similar workouts to what he did at Matt last year. And, that's essentially what I got in those top 4 picks of mine.
2 other similarities, Brian and Tommy. If we look at both your picks, you have, I think, all of the same athletes. Let's pull them up. Let's see, Brian's men. And then Tommy, I think yours is it's almost similar, especially with the wild card. Let's start with Brian.
I was gonna say it's identical.
Go ahead,
except
Tommy.
for the. I was gonna say it's identical except for the wild card.
I know. I'm trying. I'm like looking back and forth, and I'm like, whose am I looking at? There we go. There's 1, and there's 2. Okay. I mean, identical. Couldn't be more identical, except for the wild card. Brian, Alex Smith. Why do you think that he is the wild card and going to sneak back into the games this year?
Well, just in general, I think this field got a little bit easier when Taylor Self was forced to withdraw. I think he's someone a lot of people were expecting to be in contention for a game spot. That is obviously no longer in the equation. Alex Smith is someone who's super intriguing to me this year. I really wasn't expecting him to be relevant at all. And then I just kind of heard a few months ago that he's been training with the intent to make a comeback. And, it's something that's been asked before. Is like, is it really possible to take a year or 2 off of intentionally competing to be one of the best in the world at this sport? And then to decide, I think I want to do that again and actually be able to do it. And if there's one thing we know about Alex Smith, it's that this guy, from an athletic standpoint, is an outlier. Like, he can do things that no one else can do. He's got freak top end strength, incredible gymnastics capacity. And if he's actually focused on, redeveloping and maintaining a high level of aerobic capacity or an engine, I think he's got almost as good a shot as anyone outside of probably the top 2 or 3 guys to actually sneak into a game spot potentially. But we haven't seen him compete in a while, so I didn't feel comfortable putting him in the top 5. I just wanted to mention him as someone who certainly could be in the mix in this field.
All right, Tommy, your only difference is your wild card pick. You got Griffin in there. How did you come to that consensus to throw him in?
Well, for me, I think everyone remembers Griffin for his, overall strength, right? And he could very well win the very first event right out of the gates for the Syndicate. But it really comes down to how well has he refined the skills that fit in between. Very much like, in some ways, Alex Smith, right? How much has he worked on his engine? How much has he worked on his ability to suffer through the grindy, longer workouts that don't, lend themselves to eye-popping Instagram videos and stuff like that. So, Griffin is definitely skilled. I was there in Norway watching him when he punched his ticket back in 2020. and saw him an improved athlete working on those things. And I think it's something he's been trying to fill in the holes over the last year or so after not qualifying. So I think it really comes down to how well has he done that. I think you look at the first event, you look at the last event and Syndicate, and I think he'll be able to utilize some of those heavy implements to his advantage. But what's going to happen when he gets into a 1K row race at the end of the new version of jacking? Or what's it going to look like when he's in the 25-minute workout that has the ascending wall balls and bike calories? So I think those little gray areas are really what puts him into a wild card spot for me.
Tommy, I'm going to stick with you as we move to the women's side because PC and Brian both put Haley Adams as their number one. You are taking a chance on our girl, Christy Ramo O'Connell. Why?
Yeah, this is me kind of like taking a flyer on a potential surprise story, because I just felt like I couldn't take too much chalk across the board. So I thought the one chance I see maybe an upset happens is someone like Christy winning this event. You look at the lifting event. I think everyone takes a look at that lifting event. It's like, all right, this is an opportunity for people to gain points on Haley. Not just the fact that top end strength has been an issue for her, but also being able to repeatedly go below parallel and mimic that top end strength for things like complexes that have troubled her in the past. The thing that makes me think that Christy might be able to win this overall is that a lot of the elements that I see Haley succeeding at moving forward in the competition are things that Christy also succeeds at. Longer time domains, like long grindy type workouts, body weight movements, gymnastics, high level pulling, running, like we're going to see in the other pre-programmed CrossFit workout. And so I think that depending on how much distance she can put between Haley and herself in that first workout for the lift, she should be able to maybe fight off Haley just chipping away as she climbs up the leaderboard. So I'm not saying it's like my stone cold lead pipe lock of the century, but I do think it's something that I can see actually happen.
Brian, when I look at your picks, there's a name that sticks out to me that I don't know that a lot of people are familiar with yet. Madison Mcelhaney. She hasn't really been doing CrossFit for that long now. She was a former fighter, but man, she did incredible, I think, in her first year of the Open, and really has been doing great. Last year, she was close. She made a semifinal. Why this year do you think she's going to punch her games ticket?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some other women that could have put in this spot. You saw Tommy had Paige Semenza and Christine Kohlenbrander as his wild card there. I have Olivia Sulek down below there, who's obviously an up-and-comer in the space as well. Mm-hmm. But you're right. Madison is very much not talked about. She's lives out in LA, I think. She's been training over there with Dennis Samsonov. They seem to have a pretty good training environment. And she was really impressive I know both Patrick and myself at Granite Games when we saw her in person last year. I believe she took 10th place there. Mm-hmm. And she kind of is, in a way, is kind of like an Alex Smith on the women's side, where she's got this incredible athletic potential. She can do all these kind of tricks and flips, but also when it comes time to compete, she seems to have the ability to suffer. I have, of all the picks here on this board, I mean, it's obviously my least confident one. I have her in the 5 spot. But I thought she was worth having on the list and in the show because she is someone that I think has the potential to break onto the stage and be a relevant contender at the Syndicate this year.
And PC, on the women's side, an athlete that you picked as your wild card that we're not seeing on either Tommy or Brian's is Christine Best. Why did you have her for your wild card?
Yeah, Christine Best. She competed in the online games back in 2020. And she had a really good Open this year, a really good quarterfinal. She's out of that underdogs crew, but she actually trains out of New York City, I believe. And she's been, all indication, talking to Justin Kotler, he's saying this is the best version he's seen of her. And talking to some other training partners, they foresee her a good year. And I agree with them in terms of everything I've seen in terms of video and tape and her finishes. So she's someone to keep an eye on, and she has experience. She's just someone that's often overlooked because of you haven't seen her in person live at the games.
The first weekend of semifinals. It's about to kick off. Are you guys excited?
Oh man, I can't wait. It's
We got a lot of traveling.
Crazy amount of travel, ton of stress, but it's going to be so worth it. I love it.
None of us are going to sleep, limited amount of time to eat, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, those strains and the sleep, the recovery on our loops, it's going to be pretty impressive as well.
It's going to be fun. We're all super excited. The first weekend is about to kick off of semifinals, a whole month long of content, of coverage, of sports. We're excited. Plenty more to come from us. We'll see you guys next time.